next guest, she divides her free time between playing the organ and puttering in her garden. She thinks that if it wasn't for her frosted hair, she would resemble Lucille Ball. She doesn't date very often, but when she does, she avoids a man with what she calls a cookie duster. Please welcome Elly Wright. Oh, boy. You just walk right out and spring into action, don't you?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Now, is a cookie duster a mustache? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. When I was going to school, it's kind of a real bushy mustache, and it kind of hangs down, and it kind of brushes the cookies, the crumbs off of the cookies when you eat them.
Yeah, we've had a lot of mustache and facial hair talk here on this show. Yeah. You ever ask a man to shave it off if he had a mustache?
Well, would you believe I had a blind date once? And after our third date, he was determined to kiss me. And I couldn't let him kiss me with that cookie duster. So I said, I'm sorry, I just can't kiss you. And he looks at me and he says, does your son have a razor? And I says, well, sure. He says, where is it? And I says, in the bathroom. Would you believe he got up off the couch, walked into the bathroom, and I followed him, found the razor, and he cut the whole thing off, and he'd been growing it for 20 years. Oh, no. And then he turned around and kissed me. Oh, Chuck, he couldn't kiss.
Oh.
It was terrible.
I can just see that kind of awkward moment where he cuts it off, turns around, and looks at you, and you go, you know, you really look a little better with it.
It was terrible.
Well, let's take a look at the men that Elly had to choose from. Now, watch closely because you're going to pick the one you think's best for. First, Robert. His two best friends are his two German shepherds. Well, and he never goes surfing without them. He claims that he can get along with just about any woman as long as she doesn't chew gum, that is. Robert used to take his dates sailing, and here's why he doesn't do that anymore. Robert.
I took a girl out a couple of years ago, and it was quite a rough day. I thoroughly enjoyed it because it's more exhilarating that way, but half the crew got seasick, and she's never been out sailing since.
Next, there's John. He was married for 20 years. He's been divorced for 3. Claims that he's called a guru of his neighborhood singles scene. And he believes that he could have a very successful second career as a matchmaker, and here's why.
I like to help people mix around and meet each other at parties. And they usually end up with each other, and then sometimes I end up with nobody. But at least I feel I've done something, and I've had a good time doing it.
And finally, Adrian. His first marriage lasted 27 years. His second one lasted 1 week. He thinks that that he looks like Joseph Cotton, but he'd be happier if he looked like Ronald Coleman. He admits that he's not every woman's dream date, and here's a case in point.
She wanted, as she said, a very intelligent man and very rich. I said, well, I didn't think I was either. She said, well, we could only be friends. And I said, that's all I really wanted from you.
Okay. Well, those are the 3 men that Elly had to choose from. It's time for you to vote. Who do you think would be the best man for Elly? Okay, Elly's going to tell us who she picked. Who'd you pick, Elly?
I chose John.
You chose John. He's backstage. Let's say hello to John Russell. Hi, John. Hi. How you doing, John?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Just make yourself at home back there, and Elly will start us off.
Well, now, when I opened the door, he was a little slender. Chuck, excuse me. I like men with meat on their bones, because I've got some on mine. So he was a little on the slender side, but he was a nice person.
Well, size, you think you're too thin for Elly, John?
Not at all. I'd be too thin if she weighed 5 pounds more, and I think if she lost about 15, we'd be just right for each other.
So you're driving down there, and what happens?
Well, we went to the Orange County Fair, and we walked in, and first thing I noticed about John is every little thing we did, he had a piece of paper, and he was writing down everything. 25 cents for this, 50 cents for this, $1 for this. And I thought, this guy's a little cheap. I couldn't understand why he was doing it.
Why were you doing that?
Well, I teach mathematics, and I'm left side of the brain. I wanted to keep track in case we exceeded the $75. asked her if she had a credit card.
So you teach mathematics and you're a left-sided brain.
Yes.
I got you. Okay. How much did you spend at the fair, John? Do you remember?
$57.25.
Good for you. So you didn't exceed the 75, I guess, or maybe you did.
Yes,
Oh,
we
you
did.
did.
Oh, yes.
And then
yes.
what happened?
Well, anyway, so as we were walking through the fair, and we didn't miss a thing, and we had to be here at a certain time, be there at a certain time.
So it was all
Now,
very organized.
Oh,
and
yes.
punctual.
He had everything all planned.
Oh, I
he
see.
really did. Oh, yes.
Yeah. 57.25.
57.25.
Now what happened?
Well, then we left the fair, and we stayed all day. And we left the fair, and we drove over to Newport Beach. And we took a long walk on the boardwalk, and we went out on one of the piers and took a long walk. While we were walking, I noticed that we didn't have too much in common because I loved to dance and I loved to play golf, and John wasn't into these things. But then we did have a lovely dinner at one of the restaurants, and then we took another walk out. So, I mean, we got plenty of exercise for the day.
Plenty of exercise.
Oh, yeah.
But
It was
not
fun.
romantic for you, though, but just
No.
fun. Well,
Yes, well, he's a real nice guy, but I don't really feel like that there was a love connection. He really is a nice person, though. He really is.
well, you know, it seems like that you don't have a lot in common. Would you agree with that, John?
Some things. Some things in common, some things not. We really like each other, though.
Yeah, I beg you what?
We like the time
good.
we
I
spent
thought you
together.
said we really didn't like each other, though. I misunderstood.
No, we did.
Yeah.
We had a nice time.
Well, let's take a look and see who the audience picked. That's all right.
Oh.
Sound man will fix that. Well, you know, isn't that interesting? The audience picked Adrian, 51%.
Adrian?
Yeah, man. Adrian's at home going, yeah, I'm all right. Anyway, if you want to go out with Adrian, we'll pay for it. If not, you know, you're on your own. Well, they think you should. It's up to you.
I think I'd rather stay on that.
Stay on your own.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, John, sorry we didn't make a love connection for you, but thanks for coming on the show, and we enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, John. Elly, thank you. You're delightful. I wish we could fix you up again. Maybe we will on our own anyway, because I'd like to have you back. We're going to come back with our next guest right after this. Stay with us.